Miss Cooper, I want to first of all thank you for agreeing to do the interview. Um, I must admit, I had very little knowledge of who you were or what you've gone through until I did an interview with a young lady by the name of Amina Sirleaf. So I'd like to start the interview by asking you, for those who don't know you or your story, how would you introduce yourself and your story to them?
Um, that's an interesting question. I will pretty much just say that I'm a native Liberian born in the late 70s and went through a civil war in the early 90s and migrated to the United States, obtained an education there, and once I was in a position to give back, I quickly ran home to post-war Liberia to do what I can to give back.
Okay.
Today I'm a humanitarian um, to serve the needs of underprivileged youth and children in Liberia.
Okay. Yeah, and that brings me to the next question. I understand that you really have literally moved back to your home country. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Miss Cooper,
I
ha-
start. I'm sorry. I started off by coming here a couple of times a year, but as the demand for my presence grew stronger, I had no option but to pack up myself and everything I had and everything I knew in America and just pretty much made this area my base now.
okay. That brings me to something that I find unique about you. Having personally experienced the violence and the carnage of a civil war, how is it that you find the strength and energy to do what it takes to survive, become a successful, educated woman who turns around and dedicates herself to not only giving back to the individuals from your home country, but moving back to the same country that caused you so much pain to begin with? How do you get that strength? Where does that come from?
Excellent question. I love that question. Where do I find the strength? I instead of solving my misery, I felt extremely privileged, first of all, to have survived the war, and I knew my survival was for a reason. And so I spent a lot of time while I was in the U.S. obtaining my education and working in corporate America, trying to figure out what that reason was. And when I finally got to the point in my 30s, when I came to a conclusion as to what that reason was, at least from my own understanding, I had no option but to do something to give back to society. Instead of solving my misery and say, oh, poor me, I went through a horrible civil war, I lost my father, I lost my home, and everything I knew as a child, I've lost. So I'm just going to sit here and do nothing. Instead, I decided to just take the approach of, there were 250,000 people that got killed out of 3 million people in the country. I was one of the few that were lucky enough to survive. And when I went not just to anywhere. I went to the great United States of America, where a lot of my people will be forever grateful to ever have the privilege of being in. I went there. I obtained free education, both high school and college. I could not, with all of those privileges that I had, stop in my misery and say, poor me. Immediately after obtaining my education and spending a few years in corporate America, when I could finally make it on my own, I said, you know what? Now I have to go and serve my purpose. And I feel like my purpose was to go and serve children who didn't quite have the opportunity or privilege that I had to have escaped the war unharmed. So I just forget about any idea or thought that I was unlucky by experiencing a horrible civil conflict. I turned that into good and said, you know what? I could have been killed. I could have been raped. I could have been one of those unfortunate individuals that just did not make it. But because I did, the universe must have been looking out for me. So I'm not going to sit here and plot on some negative thought that poor me, poor me, poor me. So I just had to jump on the bandwagon and do what was right. And what I'm doing with my life today, it feels right. I know it feels right because I just wake up every day with this great enthusiasm of going out to make some child's life much better than I found them.
Ms. Cooper, clearly politics has played a big role in the civil war in Liberia that resulted in you losing your father and coming to the United States. And I'm sure that politics still plays a role in the current state of affairs. What do you see as the best chance of meeting the needs of children in Liberia as well as other nations ripped apart in political turmoil? Would it be more government aid, or would it be more private sector involvement and funding that would make your mission more successful?
I think the combination of both government funding and private individuals coming to establish businesses, hiring, providing more jobs for individuals would be. I think the combination is necessary. I see right now, because government plays a much stronger role than for the private sector here, everyone has a tendency to rely on government for all answers, including private affairs and private matters. And I don't think a society can survive on that mode. I think it's time to just open the country up to private individuals who want to come and make investments. Because as you can see in the United States, I live in Manhattan, New York, one of the most prominent cities in the great old United States. Private individuals, private companies, not government controlled, not government owned, are the most successful. And I think we have to then look to the developed world, the first world like the United States, and take some of those models and implement it here. Because it is only through the private sector and private funding and donors funds. I don't like to rely on donors funds, because I think it's time for the Liberians to take full responsibility and get to work, get education, get to work through private sectors, within the private sector, get jobs that they can be proud of. They feel like they went to work, did something, brought something home to take care of their family, instead of constantly depending on government to solve all of their problems. It's impossible. We have a country of 3.7 million people. We have a very small government running on a very small budget. Everyone from the president are doing their best, and the people who are in it for the good and not just for selfish reasons, they're all contributing and doing great things to develop this country. Within a matter of 6-7 years, the country has gone from just a post-war country to really a country that's being productive. Now we've developed oil, or at least we just discovered oil in the country. There's a lot of great things happening, but the citizens are underprepared. Lack of education and literacy is just taking toll. And it's within the next couple of years, if we don't fight for private funding to develop this country, we're going to have a great problem tomorrow. There was a longer version to the answer, but in a nutshell, I would say I think a combination of government funding and private investment funds coming to this nation will really help develop this nation into a second world country.
I think you definitely made a good argument for why private sector involvement is necessary and paramount to the success of Liberia. For those who might say, and like I said, sadly, you have some people who will say this, why should Americans be concerned about the conditions in Liberia, or why should Americans send money to provide for children in other countries? What would you tell them?
Well, it depends on the person and what, sometimes they would say you're all going to the same summit, but start at different points. Starting with the individual at what point they're starting at, there are two arguments that I can present. One, America has a strong tie to Liberia because Liberia was established by the United States colonial society. Liberia was not a colony, but it was treated like a colony under the U.S. Constitution. And the overpopulation of slaves led the American colonial society to develop in Liberia the overpopulation of slaves to go to. Anyone who was a free slave in there to go to Liberia. That's what it's called, Liberia, liberty, from the French word libre, free slaves going home to a place to start a journey and finding their roots in Africa. And so that was the one thing that creates a tie between, or at least some sort of social responsibility to Liberia. But obligation doesn't necessarily grant one the compassion to do anything. Yes, you have a social responsibility to a certain area, but yes, you can fulfill your social responsibility or your governmental responsibility, but that doesn't give you a long-term interest. And I just have the second argument I can present is I have this idea, concept that, listen, if you can sympathize or have compassion for someone in their suffering, you never know what will be your turn, when your suffering will come about, and that person whom you helped will one day come back to your aid. So I take both arguments. Yes, the United States have a certain obligation to Liberia because it was established by the United States government. But at the same time, I like the other approach, which is help Liberia in its suffering, and hopefully Liberia one day can return that favor. Because we have at one point have the United States, one that a lot of people are too young to remember, but during World War II, Liberia was instrumental in just aiding the U.S. naval in World War II to park ships or to just a vessel going through. A lot of the history there, but I'm not going to go too much into detail with that.
Okay.
Anyway, why should U.S. Continue to help Liberia? Liberia and the U.S. have a long-standing relationship, a very long-standing relationship, and it's just something that even through Liberia's downfall, it'd be great to see that relationship continue by getting some aid, which we have gotten a lot of aid from the U.S., and we're extremely grateful for that.
I in my interview with Amina Sirleaf, she mentioned, I read a speech. She actually provided us a copy that she gave at a fundraiser at your Manhattan home that was dealing with the issue of clean, safe drinking water. What are the current conditions in Liberia as far as the people having access to clean, sustainable, safe drinking water?
Yes, I mean, I gave a brilliant speech, which I still do remember very well as you bring it back to my memory. She spoke about the need for clean water because that's something we felt was necessary. We built the MCF Academy, a free boarding school for students in Liberia, young children to attend who, one, have no permanent home. They don't have permanent home to go to. We provide permanent home for them, but at the same time provide basic human rights for them with education, nutrition, and access to health. We built a school in a small village, which is just an hour away from Monrovia. And believe it or not, we're in 2013, and people in this village are still dying. Children in this village are still dying from cholera because they don't have access to clean drinking water. They have to go distance and distance and distance. For the privileged few who are in the town, they can afford to go that long distance to obtain filtered water to bring home to their families. But the rest of the folks go to a local well, not well, but a little creek, and they gather water from this well where they also shower, bathe, and people do laundry in there. This is where they're drinking water, and they're just dying. They're just dying from this infected water. So the MCF has opened up the well that we have on campus to the village. Anyone who wants clean water are welcome to come to the well on our campus. But again, we're a very small school of just 100 people, providing water for those 100 people, and we're also trying to do good and provide water for the villagers. But our well is just small, so we can only do it but for so long. And there is a need for clean water wells all over this village, so folks or children specifically can just go a few feet or a yard to get clean drinking water. There is such a need for clean water. But again, this is where my argument starts with regards to if the people were educated enough, they will know that it is necessary. Men, women, get together and build a clean water well, and do not wait for anyone else to come and do it for you. And so it creates a strong argument, but anyway, just back to your original question, there is such a need for clean water well. And I'm calling my friends in the U.S., anyone who's involved with Clean Water Initiative, please come to this village. And just imagine we're an hour away from Monrovia, and we're having this problem. Can you imagine, the rest of the country where people don't frequent? It must be disastrous there with regards to obtaining clean water.
It's interesting that you said that, because I'm going to skip around these questions because some of them you've actually already answered quite eloquently as far as why you started the MacDella Cooper Foundation, and we will get into that because I want to talk about the Academy. Would you agree or disagree from a standpoint here on the U.S., from what you've experienced and seen here, that we've become a nation so divided by political partisanship that we've made it more difficult to come together and to work together on issues that are important, such as providing clean, safe drinking water? You've got 884 million people today in 2013. Like you said, we're in 2013, and there's so many people that simply do not have the very basic need, but yet very urgent and necessary need of clean, safe drinking water.
Yes, I think politics really has done its best and worst to divide people. But I just don't like to stop that argument at politics. I think there are so many other factors to be considered. People are divided for so many reasons. This is the great United States were praised for immigrants to come and find political and religious freedom and freedom in every level. And I think people have done so well. The great United States have done so well in providing that civil liberty for its citizens. And I think sometimes people tend to forget their heritage, and I think that's the key thing. Forget politics for a quick second. Your heritage. But majority of people living in the United States, except for the Native Indians, are all immigrants to the United States in search of freedom on some level. Either you came from the great United Kingdom, or you came from Kenya. Everyone came there to find civil liberty and freedom, and people have found that civil liberty. They have become very comfortable in it, and so they have forgotten their history of where they migrated from, the political strife they came from. And so now they're so comfortable in their position, in their life, which is not a problem. But on one hand, when there is an issue next door, we have to remember from when we came from and go and gather and do something, because it's just how the world operates. You help me, I help you. I mean, it sounds like a fairy tale, but we can't forget the basic. And that is the basic.
It kind of sounds.
Coming to the United States. Go ahead.
I'm sorry for cutting. It kind of sounds like you're describing something that brought me to the point to where I met Amina and found out about you. A gentleman by the name of Foster Fries has spearheaded a group an initiative called Left, Right, Forward March. And their tagline is, "Together we will get there." And Foster decided that to bring people together so that we can experience working together for issues and on issues that actually meet a common good for humanity.
Yeah.
That we come together and put aside our political differences or whatever and work to help provide clean, safe drinking water for the 884 million people, and take that experience and move forward working together to solve other issues. And it seems to me that you've just described the exact same basis of people needing to understand that if we don't take care of each other, then we're not going to be able to take care of ourselves either.
Absolutely. I agree with that philosophy 100%. Absolutely.
I understand that you are an extremely educated and successful woman, but I have to ask you, and I'm sure you see it every day in the face of the children at the MacDella Cooper Foundation Academy there. How does it make you feel to know that you have inspired people? For example, Amina is only 14 years old. She's been working to do everything she can to support the Academy, your foundation, since she was 9 years old. She's 14 now. She literally thinks the world of you. How does that make you feel to know that you inspire that in such young age?
Well, I always like to take the approach of don't dance until the parties. I mean, don't take. I don't know how to put it in English, but don't dance a victory dance until the race is over. So I try not to take the approach of dancing a victory dance before the work is done. In the sense of Amina Sirleaf, I was just so impressed. I met Amina and had no idea who she was. She emailed me this very sophisticated letter. We connected, and she was so impressionable. I mean, it was just amazing for a young little person. I always refer to her as Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in a 9-year-old body. I mean, now she's 14, so the years go by. But she is her grandmother in a little person's body. So in terms of the inspiring, I think she was born with that. I think she was born a natural leader. And we just happen to have been the privileged one to have been a part of her journey, or is a part of her journey. Amina, just what a wonderful person. Just came to this earth and already knew what her mission was. It took me 30 years to figure out mine, but she was born knowing what her mission was. And that impresses me so much. Because, like you said, when I look in the face of the children at MCF Academy, I see children who are hungry. They know what the future holds for them, but they just needed a hand to say, can you just show me the road to where I'm supposed to start? So I'm here just at service to them to just bring them to their starting point. Because they, believe it or not, even in the midst of their struggle, their poverty, their starvation, their little weak bodies, that when we find them, they're just almost so hopeless. They know, and they already have it within them as to what their future is, but it's just a matter of somebody just bringing them to the starting point. And that's how these children are supposed to take credit for being the inspiration behind that. I just consider myself a little humble humanitarian who's just trying to show these young people to their starting point. And Amina does so much for us. She and her entire family, her dad, her mom, her grandmother, her grandmother's sister, Jenny Bernard. I mean, these people, you know, regardless of whether Mrs. Sirleaf has a presidential position, they're just good people. They just get it. They get the whole concept that if I help you today in your struggle, I'm hoping that one day, because we, especially Liberians, should know this. My father was a prominent person living in this country with kids in the war. We lost everything. It was the good nature of people that brought me to the great United States and helped me through university and has gotten me to where I am today. So it is only my duty to remember that fact and not just become this conceited, selfish person that society would like to lead me to believe I should be. Work for yourself, take care of the responsibility, and live a life that's pleasing to oneself or yourself. I cannot take that approach. I have to take the approach of somebody help me, I help somebody else, hoping that that person who I help will help another person. And that's the world I want to be a part of. And Amina is certainly a part of that world. Her grandmother is, her mom and dad are, and we just got to do what we all can. And so I'm inspired by Amina because I wish I have found my position, my quest, my journey in this life at 14 or 9 years old.
You know, I tend to agree with you. I wish I had have seen mine as well. You mentioned President Sirleaf, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and I was going to ask you, not only is she the first woman to rule an African nation, but by her own admission, she's a woman who has been a victim of domestic violence. She's a woman who worked here in the United States and put herself through school. Is President Sirleaf an inspiration to girls and women in Liberia today?
100%. She is a major inspiration, not just to girls in Liberia and women, but on the continent of Africa, because I travel quite a bit around the continent doing conferences, and everyone knows about Madame Sirleaf. And now, luckily, we have George Banda in Malawi, who's the second female president on the continent, but Mrs. Sirleaf, her excellence, is known all over the continent. And even when I lived in New York, everyone was inspired by Madame Sirleaf's accomplishments. And also, like you mentioned, what she went through as a young woman and as a married woman and as a mother of 4 boys and one stepchild, she has gone through it all. Political struggles, being in prison, being raped in prison. I mean, a woman, she's a hero to me. You know, it's just, I don't know. I don't know too many women who've gone through everything she's gone through and has come to the highest position in the land.
Can I repeat that?
Should mean her journey.
Can I repeat that just in case? You said she's a shero to you. I like that.
She's a shero. S-H-E-R-O.
I like that. Miss Cooper, we were talking about the fact that the well on your academy campus is helping to provide clean water. But if we're realistic, we both have to acknowledge that that's not enough. You need help.
That's not enough.
Would the MacDella Cooper Foundation consider working with an organization like Water Missions International in Liberia, which actually goes in and assists in providing sustainable, safe, clean drinking water and sanitation? I know that they are currently in Uganda, Malawi, Kenya. I know that they've done some projects in your neighboring country, Sierra Leone. And this is actually how I came to meet Amina. I did a presentation at her church trying to introduce Water Missions International. And she walked up to me and she said, Water Missions is a perfect fit for what we're trying to do in Liberia.
Yes. Yes. We just lost 2 children to cholera last week. We will be grateful at the opportunity to work with Water International to eradicate this problem. It's one that can be done in a matter of just creating a clean water well, building a clean water well in this little village. And the villages around. I would love to partner up, would love to work together with you to establish this. I'm not sure where we begin.
Well,
but I would love that.
Where we're going to begin is after I finish this interview, I am going to send an email to Genevieve, your publicist, with some contact phone numbers and names, and they're already aware of the fact that I'm doing this interview with you. And there is a young lady with the organization that works with different foundations by the name of Beth that would be more than happy to get together with you guys and see what you guys can do. If this isn't too much of a personal question, I want to ask, do you believe that God has a plan for each and every one of us, and that if we let him guide us, that plan and direction, that we'll succeed?
Absolutely. Once we lay down our own ideas and ways to his will, he makes a way and he directs us through it all. And I strongly believe that we came to this earth for a purpose, and his purpose is what we should look to, not our own. And once we figure that out, everything just falls into place.
Miss Cooper, I know you're calling from Africa, and God, you do not know how much I appreciate you agreeing to do this interview. How can Sinclair News and our audience help you and the MCF Academy accomplish your goals? Can people send clothing? Where can we send people from the website, and who listen to this interview, who see this interview? Where can they go to sign up to offer whatever assistance they can?
We can have items sent, or anyone who wants to donate items of clothing, medical supplies. We have a list of items I can have Genevieve send out, but it can be sent to our Manhattan office, 100 West 57th Street, Suite 9, New York, New York, 10019. That's 100 West 57th Street, Suite 9, New York, New York, 10019. We will be eternally grateful for all and every kind of help. We need financial support, but again, our motto is, if we have the resources, we don't necessarily care to hold on to money. So we're not a charity that focuses on money.
Mm-hmm.
We need resources. If you can provide a bag of rice at the school, we would be grateful. You don't necessarily have to send us the money, except if you want tax receipt. You send the money to our account. Our accountant and treasurer in the New York office will send you a receipt. But otherwise, we are grateful for the resources. We are taking care of children, and anyone who has a child knows what children need. They need nutrition. They need medical care, basic stuff like Band-Aids, or even shampoo sometimes, just as part of the care package. They need backpacks, notebooks, supplies for school. They need shoes, especially shoes. The kids grow fast, and so they grow out of their shoes really quickly. They need undergarments and clothing. They need food as well. I mentioned nutrition. And lots of love. Come and visit us. We have a boarding school. We can host you on campus. You just come and see what the Lord, if I can, be so free and say what the Lord leads you to do. Because I don't like to just say, give us this, and when you come, you have a different, you have your own idea of how you are able to help. So I said, come and see for yourself what we're doing. I live on the campus. I have my own family there, and it's not glamour, but it's certainly a place where kids' lives are being changed, and that is powerful enough to move. You need a person with a cold heart.
You said it's not glamour, and I want people to understand that while you are indeed a very beautiful young woman, you're an amazing and remarkable woman in the short period of time that I've been able to research and look up exactly what you've gone through, because you see so many who make it big, who are successful, but you do get celebrities who will go out and get in front of TV cameras and say, send money, do this, that don't really get involved in the local level. And I think that you're absolutely amazing. You returned to a country that caused you so much pain. And not only did you return to that country, but you've dedicated to helping other people there. And I think that says something about the character of MacDella Cooper.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Not to go too deep into it, but since I've been back, people have been asking me, are you back to acquire a political post? And I said, no, not at all, because I know what I'm doing, the reward I get. So no political title or position can ever satisfy that. And it's just something that I was led to do. And I know it just fulfills everything in me. I tell you, I go to bed anxious to get up the next morning to begin my work. I work as a fashion PR and event planner in New York, and you're absolutely right. I've worked with tons of celebrities, and I know all the spiel, all the celebrity lingo of the New York high social life, and none of that was satisfying as much as I am satisfied in my life today, just to know I'm doing what's right.
Well, we were talking about the actual needs at the Academy, and you were talking about, shoes, clothing, bags of rice, etc. We spend here in this country anyway, and maybe in New York it's probably double, but we spend an average of $10 a day or more on bottled water, sodas, or sports drinks. And very few of us realize that just $10 can provide safe, clean drinking water for a human being for a lifetime. What can we do working together to get people to understand that for $10 you can give a child in Liberia, or an adult, doesn't matter, but you can provide clean, safe drinking water for one human being for an entire lifetime? Could you imagine how much clean, safe drinking water we could put in there, partnering with water missions and getting people to understand that this is about sustainable, clean, safe drinking water? It's only going to benefit these kids and the citizens of Liberia to become more productive.
Yes, absolutely. The work you guys are doing at Water International is extremely necessary. It is extremely necessary because you can educate a kid. You can take a kid out of poverty. You can do whatever is necessary to get the kids on the right track. But if the kid is not healthy because they are drinking dirty water that's going to shorten their lifespan and you're trying to create or extend for them, it's useless. So just for 10 United States dollars, you can save a child, educate a child, and sort of put everything in place towards a great future for that child. Without organizations like Water International, my work is made difficult because I can see a child in need. I can see a child that has great potential. But if that child does not have access to clean water, that child's life is going to be cut short, and everything that I'm trying to accomplish is a waste. Donors' dollars are waste. But we have to start with the basics such as clean drinking water. And that's why I just commend Water International for the great work you guys are doing and a partnership I'm looking to establish with you, and get these kids out of dying from a simple thing like cholera.
You know, and you, I think, have made it personal, because I haven't seen a child die from drinking unclean water. I know that the major cause of death since the Haitian earthquake in 2010 has been due to waterborne illness. I know that according to the World Health Organization, a number of children die each day from waterborne disease. And I see a woman who has definitely made me take stock and look back on what it is that I'm trying to do. Ms. Cooper, I want to thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview. I do need to give you a personal message from Amina Sirleaf, as well as her mother, Helen. Their prayers are with you. They look forward to doing whatever they can to continue to help the Academy. And I saw Amina just yesterday afternoon, I was trying to figure out a way to at least try to get her into this call on a three-way process so that she could say hello, because she was kind of saddened when she heard that you had moved back to Liberia.
Oh, now she has me, her grandmother, to come and visit.
You know, that I would look, I'm telling you, I would be definitely seriously interested in figuring out a way to go and take the cameras and see exactly what you're doing and help other people see what you're doing as well. Miss Cooper, again.
Oh, welcome to come.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so you're welcome to come anytime. We'll host you. We'll take care of you. Bring your camera and see what we're doing here on the ground.
I can't say enough. I think you are definitely a remarkable woman of character, strength, compassion. We need more like you. I will definitely forward Genevieve's information to Kevin Herr and Molly and George Green at Water Missions International, and I hope you guys can work together, and let's not only save a child, let's save a country.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lawrence. I look forward to catching up and maybe listening to the interview or what you're going to do.
I will get this up in the next hour or so, and I will send it directly to Genevieve so she can forward it to you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a good one.
You too, hon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.